so you can work out, take him to jail, or do you want to, are you are afraid you're going to get out? What exactly are you?
Well, the primary objective why I'm here is because I need to get out, and I figured if I'm surrounded with cops who know who this guy is and know the situation, and or rather know that I'm in danger, then we can talk about other options, but I'm still kind of freaking out.
Right.
But if you're talking about pressing charges, then abso-fucking-lutely.
Right.
This guy threatened me with a gun.
Well, I mean, like I said earlier, there was a gun there. Sounds to me like, unless I'm missing some of the story, the gun wasn't even mentioned until you said.
It was in plain view.
I understand that, but I mean, there's 3 guns in plain view in this room right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you're cops.
I know.
There's context.
Well, no, and you could articulate, well, I think he did that to make me feel intimidated or something like that. But he could say, yeah, I had the gun out, we started arguing, I picked it up and put it away in my room. You know what I mean? So this is where it's tough as far as, actually going and taking someone's freedom and charging them with felony crimes and things like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but ultimately, considering the tone of the conversation and the fact that he had the gun there when it's not normally, when I've never even seen the bloody thing before.
Mm-hmm. Right. I understand it, but I'm just trying to say to you that from what I understand about the story, I don't have the felony crime that I originally thought. Okay? So, doesn't mean that there wasn't maybe possibly some harassment committed, things like that. But as far as threatening you with the gun, from what I know about this half the story, I don't have that yet. You know what I mean?
But the gun was there.
I don't understand that. But the fact that the gun's there and he's being an ass doesn't mean he's threatening you with the gun.
He made it clear that he was planning to do something with that gun to me.
Can you re-explain that? Because so we can understand it. We don't understand it as that it was a threat. In terms of that, you had made a comment about the gun after the gun had been put away,
yeah,
and then he just made a statement that was kind of just wishy-washy.
But he said if I don't do something, he would. Then he gestured to the gun.
Maybe I could have missed that part. So explain that part of the story to us again, please.
Basically, whenever I first came up the stairs, into the kitchen, he had the gun there. He told me quite clearly, well, maybe not so clear considering I don't remember what the other thing was, but he said if I did X again, he would. Then he gestured to the gun that was right there, and after that he put it away.
Okay, so if you did what?
I don't know. That's why I said X.
Okay.
Because I don't know that. That's why I said X.
What was going on before that? So were you guys having some kind of argument before that, or what was going on?
No, that's how it initiated.
Okay. So why do you think this initiated like that? We don't know you guys at all.
This guy's crazy. He threatens people. He yells all the time. He tries to claim that I'm a man. He says I did things that I never did. Minor crap. This guy's loony.
Okay. So, but for today, so you come into the room and he has a gun out. It's sitting on the table, and unprovoked, he tells you if you don't do if you do something again, whatever that is, we don't know what it was, and then he points to the gun.
Yeah, that's how it was initiated, apart from the banging on the door meeting. I mean, I didn't even say a word until that happened.
Okay. I'm just trying to understand the whole context of the story here.
Because if he has if he's just a guest at this place, what's this? I'm calling a meeting there. How does he have any?
I don't know.
I don't understand the dynamic over there.
Other than them being Molly's boyfriend, I don't know.
He's been living there long enough that's address is on his driver's license. That's true, but how long has he been living there?
Well, I know he was there before I got there. I mean,
okay.
Whenever I was looking for roommates, he was part of the initial discussion.
Okay. All right, so that's his place too then.
Okay. So part of him yelling all those is he doesn't think you've been paying your part of the utilities. He doesn't that, right?
Well, I'm not 100% sure. I mean, ultimately, he thinks that he started making all sorts of transphobic slurs. He threatened me with a gun. I mean, is that how people collect utilities in this country? With a gun?
Well, I mean, the gun thing's tough because when a gun is involved, obviously everyone gets all spun up. Of course, every cop in town is over there watching this. You know what I mean? When you talk about people getting threatened with guns, and that's why I'm saying your story's tough because yes, I understand there was a gun there. You know what I mean?
Yes, I was being threatened with a gun.
Well, you were being
threatened with a gun.
Well, okay. I don't know if I could get a jury to agree with that.
Why? He was threatening me with a gun.
He was saying things to you, and then you said, "Are you threatening?" I'm not the one that threatens people with a gun. He said, "Yeah." You know, if he said to you, you know, I don't know, you're not paying your part of the utilities, and you don't start paying, I'm going to shoot you, or something like that. The fact that it was there, and then it got put away pretty quick, I think. And then later
But the fact that it was there to begin with.
Yeah, but see, that's actually not, I mean, some people, just by seeing a gun, have a very strong reaction to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's why he threatened me with it.
Well, I'm just saying that, the reason I'm explaining this is because right now, we're going to do all we can to take a report for you and get your side of the story, get his side of the story. But right now, based on this, I can't just march over there and take him in handcuffs and take him to jail.
Why not? He threatened me with a gun.
Well, because of the details of how you think that happened.
How I know it happened. He threatened me with a gun.
I think there's parts maybe I'm missing.
Can we go through today's incident again for us? And part of it could be because of your emotional state for what you've dealt with today.
It has nothing to do with my goddamn emotional state.
Okay.
He threatened me with a gun. Is that
So-
not understandable why I would be freaked the hell out?
We can understand why you would be freaked out, but what is not coming across to us is where the threat was. That's why I'm asking.
He threatened me with a gun. He had a gun right in plain view where it isn't normally. He made it clear that if I didn't do something, he would do something with that gun to me.
Okay. That's why I just asked you if we can go back through the statement of events here. Because in his own home, he can have his gun sitting out wherever he wants.
Yeah, but can he threaten people with it?
That's why we're trying to ask you to retell the story so that we can understand the entire events here. Okay? The reason why I said there were some emotions involved is because we're not understanding your side of the story right now. We're trying to. We're sitting here trying to understand why you're saying there's a threat here, and we're not seeing the same thing that you're trying to tell us. It's not coming across. And so I would like for you to help us out so we can understand where you're coming from. Okay? If we're going to charge someone criminally, we have to have probable cause for an arrest. Okay?
The fact that he threatened me with a gun isn't probable
Okay.
cause?
You just saying over and over again, he threatened me.
And how he threatened me, and
So retell us that story so that we can understand, please.
basically I was lying in bed and he pounded on my door and said one word, meeting. So
Okay.
ultimately I got up and I went into the kitchen, and where ultimately that's a common area, so I figured that's where the meeting would be held. Ultimately he had his gun laid out in plain view. He made it clear that if I didn't do X, then he would do something to me with that gun.
How did he make that clear to you?
He said it.
Okay. So what did he say to you?
He said, if you don't do X, I'm going to threaten with you. I'm going to do something with this gun.
Okay. He says he's going to do something with the gun.
I don't know. He didn't. I don't know. I'm kind of freaked out at the moment.
I understand. We're
Not
trying to
mention
understand.
You keep telling me that that he didn't threaten me. He had the fucking gun out.
Okay. We're trying to help you, ma'am, but we have to understand how it happened.
I've told you a million times.
Okay. The mere presence of the gun, right?
And the fact that he threatened me with it.
I have asked you a couple times. How did he threaten you?
And I told you a million times.
Okay.
He made it clear that if I don't do X, he's going to do something to me with that gun.
Okay.
I don't know if he's going to shoot me with it. I don't know if he's going to beat me over the head with it. But he
Okay.
made it clear he was going to do something to me with that gun.
So what did he say?
I told you what he said. How many more times do I have to tell you until you finally take it seriously?
Ma'am, we're sitting here. We have people surrounding your house right now looking to see if he comes out to see if we can continue the investigation. We're asking you the questions so that we can understand what's going on. So the first time that I asked you, you said he pointed and you didn't mention that he had said anything to the gun. This time you're saying that he said something similar to this. I'm trying to understand what he said, because the mere presence of a gun in somebody's home.
But the fact that he threatened me with it is a bit more than him just displaying it wherever
I
he
understand
pleases.
that, but you see where I'm having the problem here is that in the 2 times that I've asked you to tell that part of the story, you told it the first time as he was motioning towards the gun with his hand, and the second time you told me that
part of it, yes.
Wait, so explain it to us so we can understand here.
I told you a million times. I'll tell you it again.
Please.
Ultimately, whenever I came into the kitchen,
Okay.
he told me quite clearly, yelling, saying that if I didn't do X, he would do something to me with that gun.
Okay. And then what was he doing?
And he was motioning it to me as he was saying it.
Okay. And how did you interpret that?
As a threat, obviously.
Okay. I have to ask sometimes we have to ask obvious questions. Okay. So what type of threat did you think that was?
I thought he was going to shoot me.
Okay. Over whatever X was, which we
Yeah.
don't remember what that was. Okay. And then what happened after that?
Ultimately, he put the gun away, and then
So I don't want ultimately right now. I want to know what happened. So
immediately after
yes.
that, he put the gun away and then came back in the room and kept yelling at me.
Okay. So he makes a threat with the gun, points to it, says if you don't do something, he's going to do something with the gun, points to the gun. What was your response to him?
Ultimately, I was trying to calm the situation down. I wasn't yelling, obviously.
Okay. So, and I realize it's frustrating for you to be telling us the story over and over again, but we're trying to understand the sequence of events. So when you say ultimately, later on this happened, I'm trying to understand the sequence of events. He says, I'm going to do something with this gun right here. What do you say to him? Do you say anything to him? What is your reaction?
I didn't say anything to him immediately while he had the
Okay.
gun out, because obviously I didn't want him to do or say anything to have him pick it up and
Okay.
and shoot me with it.
Okay, so but then he does pick it up, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And so what is your reaction when he picks up the gun?
I'm thinking, how fast can I run to get the fuck out of here?
Okay, and then what does he do with the gun?
He puts it he takes it and puts it in his room.
Okay, so he leaves and puts it in his room. Does he make any threats to you when he picks up the gun?
No.
Okay, does he point it at you or do anything like that? Does he say anything to you?
It would, other than it being laid down, pointed at me, no.
Okay, so then he goes and puts it away in the room,
Yes.
and then what happens at that point?
Then he comes back and starts yelling at me more.
Okay, and so what are you guys yelling about, or what is he yelling about?
All sorts of things. He starts claiming that I'm really a man. That ultimately that if I were a better person, I'd be a better person if I grew my dick back. He'd say he then starts in on his conspiracy theories, claiming I had to pay the utilities and the state of common areas and things like that. And
Okay.
ultimately, all these things that just don't make any bloody sense. That show that he's disconnected from reality.
Okay. Are you behind on paying
No,
anything to the house or anything like
No.
that? Okay.
my rent is 100% paid.
Okay.
My utilities would be 100% paid if they didn't shut off the internet.
Okay, so there's a dispute about the
Yeah.
internet. The internet got shut off, so you're not paying your portion of the internet because it's not on.
Yeah.
Okay. Did I understand that
And I
correctly?
made it
Okay.
clear that ultimately, if they would re-enable the internet, I would pay my portion.
Okay. All right. So you
I
guys.
think that's incredibly reasonable. I don't think that I should be threatened with a gun just because.
Well, I don't think you should be threatened with a gun at all either, and for any reason really. But I'm just trying to understand it. We weren't there. Okay. So, all right. So you guys are going back and forth on the bills and money kind of stuff like that, and then what happens?
Ultimately, after he says, you'd be a better person if you grew your dick back, I
Do you have a number for Molly?
Do you have a number for Molly?
I don't.
Okay. So he makes the comment about that.
I knew that I needed to get out of there and talk to someone because this is a person who isn't sane.
Okay. And then so you came here. Did you talk to anybody else on the way out, or did
No.
he say anything when you were leaving, or?
No, I made 100% sure to just get the hell out and try to get to the police as soon as it was safe.
Okay, that's fair. If I jump back a little bit, so when he points to the gun and says that he's going to do something to you if you don't do X, Why don't you leave at that point?
Because I didn't want him to think I was going to the police and grab his gun and shoot me.
Okay.
I wanted to make 100% sure that he just thought I was leaving for the day, and
Okay. So when he puts the gun away and then comes back without a gun and starts the conversation, yelling or not, but starts the conversation, how come you stay to have the conversation at that point?
because I didn't want to have any sudden moves, I wanted to make sure that no matter what, that I was going to live through this.
Okay. Even though he had put the firearm away,
Yes.
you still had this fear that...
Because I was threatened with a gun.
No, I understand that. Like as I said earlier, I have to ask very obvious questions at some point because I can't assume your answers to things. That's not how our life works.
Well,
I can't assume how you feel about anything.
Well, as tempting as it is to run away whenever the gun was presented, my objective is to try to live.
Okay, that's fair. I'm not judging any part of it, but I have to understand, which is why I have to ask the questions. And sometimes they're silly and obvious questions.
Yeah, I want to be featured in the newspaper for doing something good, not for being gunned down by a madman.
Okay. So you guys go through the conversation, and then it just gets to a point where you're like, okay, I've had enough, and I'm going to leave. So what made you feel safe at that point in the conversation to walk out and leave?
Ultimately, that the conversation was long enough that ultimately I could leave without arousing suspicion.
Okay. Is there anything else that you can think of that we haven't clarified just yet before we have to go back and chat with the other guys that are over there real quick?
Are you aware that he threatened me with a gun? Because y'all were saying that y'all were trying to claim that he didn't threaten me with a gun.
We're not claiming anything. What we were trying to explain to you is that we didn't understand where the threat came from for you. As I explained the first, and I asked you 2 times, the first time it was emotion towards the gun, the second time it was some kind of verbal towards it. And
Because
so,
it was both.
okay, you have to understand from our perspective, we're asking you a story, and I know that it's a hard circumstance for you, but if we don't understand what's happening, then we can't help you.
What
Right?
do you understand now?
I think we understand at least your statement and the side of it, so that at least we can move on with the investigation and figure out what's going on the other half of this. Okay?
Okay.
So, give me just a minute here. No, just go ahead and pull one from there. Good enough for the second. We can go over it outside real quick.
Yeah.
Do you want to keep filling that out for?
We'll be right back in.
Yeah.
Sure. I put the whole stop in there.
Thanks. Hey, buddy. No, and can't find a match on her either. She doesn't show up as at that address as well in TLO or anything else that I've researched so far. Not as an associate. Let me double check though, real quick. Actually, yes. Here, hold on 1 second. I think I can find her. So Molly Bigger, Bigger, and 101186. 517-775-8770. And then you could just relay to everybody else there. We're gonna go through and see if we can establish a charge real quick right now, so we can move on. Give it just like 2 minutes. Just give us a couple minutes. I'll call you back in just a minute. Thanks. Bye.
Would you arrest this guy for felony?